Carol Smith, and this is my daughter Renee.
Hi, glad to be here.
Well, it's going to be a great time today.
Sure is.
You know, we're a gallery glass family. In fact, we've got together about 20 years experience with gallery glass, and we're going to teach it all to you today. You know, gallery glass is a great hobby. You can have a lot of fun with it in your family. And when you get through with this easy, fast technique, you're going to have something that looks very special. These two pieces of stained glass look alike, but they're not. One was made the conventional way and took probably months. The other is gallery glass, and you can do it in just one weekend. I'm going to show you how easy that technique is, and Renee's going to help me. We're going to start with a beginner level project. This is a ready-to-paint sun catcher that Gallery Glass makes, and these are the florals. In the kit, you have several parts. You have the paint, and it's numbered on top. You have the color key, so you can paint by number, and you have the pieces. Now, the pieces are outlined, and they have beautiful gold stamping on them. You also have a tool that you can use to paint with, and Renee's going to show us exactly how we do that. Also, these are, now this one has a, that round part in the center is molded like a jewel. And each of the pieces in the Gallery Glass Suncatcher line have that. Now Renee is using the tool to spoon in the blue paint.
The tool that comes in the kit.
Yes, and this, she is painting up to an imaginary line. It's actually a dotted line on the pattern. And then she will put in some white paint. Now at home you will have one tool and you can wipe that off in between, but we're trying to save time here, so I've given her two.
I'm just going to use the end of the spoon to spread the paint around, and then I'm going to use the other end to comb the paint and mix it in between.
Now this is going to do something very special, and I'll show you the finished one. As she is putting the paint on, it looks very opaque, but when it dries, it looks transparent. In fact, I'll turn it up here and show you that you can see it, see my finger through it. So it's the only paint of its kind. Regular acrylic paint will not do this. Now, also there is another technique that we use a lot. What is that?
The combing, I'm using just a toothpick for this. And that'll give me a finer texture.
Yeah, that's if you have bubbles.
Tip point. Or I can use a nut pick, which everybody has a nut pick to comb.
Yeah, but I like to use them to get the meat out of those walnuts.
And then I can use the other end to pop the bubbles. Or if you don't have a nut pick, you can just use a spoon and tap underneath, pop those bubbles right out.
And that gives us a smoother finish, doesn't it? Makes that paint look flawless, which we really like. Now I'm going to take this finished one and hang it up here on our window with its companion. And we use just a regular suction cup to hang these with. Look how pretty they look. The blue and yellow really coordinates. Now, this butterfly is exciting. Now, these are the colors that come in the butterfly kit. Then with the birds, we have different colors, the blues and the greens and the reds. And then up here we have a birdhouse. And this would be a great way. You can collect all of them and put them together on one window. You know, you can really decorate with these, or you can use them and give them as a gift. They're great children's projects, and the family can work together like we do. Gallery glass molded sun catchers are great because you can put them on your window with a suction cup. You know, you can also hang them with that monofilament line. I call it fishing line. And they're easy to hang, but sometimes you want to decorate something that's not flat. You know, Renee and I love to decorate vases with sun catchers, but you need them to mold to the surface. And so Gallery Glass has an answer for that. You can't have it. These are the window clings, and they come in a kit that also has everything you need, and it's so easy. We have more paint to play with this time. There's 6 colors, and we have a tool. Now, the surface is different. It's not molded and thick. This is 2 pieces. One is the release paper, and the other is a static cling vinyl, and it has a pre-printed outline on it. Are you ready to show us what to do?
I'll show you how to paint with the combing tool that comes with it. Scoop out the paint, put it in your area where the green goes,
Now, are you putting as much as you did in the molded sun catcher?
No, I want to put less and spread it around a lot more because I don't need to use as much paint.
Because you have that cheat sheet underneath. That vinyl's going to stay under this sun catcher, and that's what makes it flexible.
And I'll just use the other end to spread it around just like I did before and show us what it looks like when it dries.
Okay. Now, this is the one that we cut out. Here are all of them. There are, what is it, 6? Yeah. There are 6 on this sheet, the 2 sheets, and this is what they look like painted. These are all the nice colors. Now, I have cut this one out with my scissors. Now, I'm actually going to cut away all of the vinyl and through both layers, actually, and peel them apart. Now, look what I can do. Now, are you going to tap this one?
Mm-hmm.
Do you tap
After
it?
I comb it, I'll just tap it with either the other end of the tool or my nut pick again.
Yeah, you don't have to tap nearly as hard on this because your surface is thinner. Now, after we get this cut out, we're going to go over and put it on the window. Now, notice that it will stick to the window without the suction cup or the line. Also, it's repositionable so that I can reposition it. I can even take them off and store them maybe until next spring. Now, let's look at some of the other designs and see what they look like in a real window. Now, these are the morning glories, and of course they have the accompanying hummingbirds with those. Don't those look great? They look so springy. Then the fruit one, of course, is what we had on our vase. And they're so colorful. Where would you put these?
In the kitchen.
Or the dining room. They look great in the dining room. And then the floral variety, you know, in the wintertime, wouldn't it be great to put these on the window? You'd feel like spring was already there. You know, sun catchers are great, but a lot of people like the look of a framed piece of gallery glass. And so we have a kit to teach you a new technique. Now, it's an easy process and you've learned how to paint, but we're going to show you how to lead. And Renee is an expert at leading. She's going to do that for us. Let me show you what you get in the kit. First of all, you get a surface. And this is a piece of styrene, and it has 2 pieces of protective covering on it. So be sure that you peel both of these away. You don't want to go to all that work and have your paint be on your protective paper. You also get a choice. This is the nautical kit, and you get a lighthouse and a sailboat, and also the instructions. They all have color keys on them. Now, you get a 4-pot of the paint because you don't use as much of these colors. You get the tool, but you also get a bottle of clear. So we're growing up now. We're going to use paint out of a bottle. Isn't that great? Now, show us how to lead. We're going to take the pattern and put it underneath.
But first, I want to clean it because there's a lot of static electricity that's going to be on this the mylar.
It's good to do this, always do this, because no matter how clean it is or how careful you are with it when you peel it off, the static will just come out of the air. Okay, now you're ready. And leading is so simple. Now
I just put the mylar over the pattern and squeeze, touching the tip of the bottle down onto the lines of the pattern. Follow along. And see how I raised the tip of the bottle up above the surface and let it drape down onto the lines.
You're amazing.
And that creates the leading, which actually is not leading, it's non-toxic and water-based.
It's simulated leading to look like the lead of real stained glass. Now, you haven't even had an air bubble yet.
That's because I'm good at this. I've had a lot of practice.
You know, a lot of times you will have an air bubble, and what happens, do it a little faster so that we can show them what an air bubble does, because as you're applying the leading, wow.
See, I can get really wild and crazy with it.
Well, normally what you'll have is the leading line will separate, and it will pop over to the side, so you will have a mistake. Now, this one has a mistake on it. Let's show them what we do with that one. Okay, let me push this one out of the way. Now, here's a mistake right here in this area. That's a little piece of leading that sort of fell over to the side. So we let it dry, and then we remove it.
I can just use an X-Acto blade or a razor blade.
Single edge, of course.
Single edge.
Now, if you're working with children, you want to do this for them. I call it trim it. Trim it before you give it to the kids to use. And so any place that your line width is a little uneven, then you can just trim that extra width away. Okay, now you're going to learn to goof-proof. Who said that? Now you're going to apply those colors with what? The tool?
Yeah.
Just
like I did before, and I just look at my pattern, and
number
it's
2.
so
it'll
it's
be
this
that
section,
one.
because it's paint by number,
Now you would comb this and tap it.
to get the air bubbles out and to make the paint smooth.
I don't think we told them how long to let the lead dry. Overnight at
24
least.
hours.
Or 24 hours. Or until it's dry. Don't try to start painting until it's dry. Depends on the
Just fill in
humidity.
this section.
Sometimes it's raining, it takes a little longer. Okay, now after you've done that, on your pattern you will have a symbol for the background, and that's where we're going to use this big bottle. The big bottle is clear. Now it looks like it's white, but it's going to dry clear.
Now I'm going to show you a special technique called marbleizing. And I'm going to put dots of blue in where I use the clear. Then I'll take the bottle and apply it directly from the bottle, spreading it around with the tip. And that'll make it look kind of like clouds.
And you don't want to get it too well mixed, right? Because it looks better
Just
if
leave
you,
it uneven.
Yeah, looks wispy. In fact, let's look at what it looks like after it dries.
Then
This
it's
is
beautiful.
This is my favorite part. Now
Voila.
look at this. You see that the blue, and I don't know, let's see, let's put a white base up behind it because sometimes the lighting in the studio is kind of hard to see. But you can see the blue streaks there and see how much like clouds it looks like. Isn't that fun? Now let me show you what you can do with them. After they're dry, you can frame it. This is an 8 by 10 pattern, so you can put it in just a standard frame. Now, you can also, it doesn't need a frame because you can put it on a stand. These are, don't come in the kit, but you can get them at your local hardware store. You also can do something a little different with it. Let me lay this one down. You can make a hole in it. And the way I made this hole is I took a paper clip, this is a pretty large one, and I heated it on my stove. I like the burner because then it doesn't leave any black on the paper clip, and I just melted through. You push easily in the corner and it will just melt right through there because the styrene is soft. Now after I do that, I can put a ribbon in it and hang it in a window, so you don't have to have a frame for it. And this is especially valuable when you're giving it as a gift because then you don't have to spend the money for the frame. Now let's look at what the sailboat looks like. Now this is the other choice of the pattern, and it would be really fun. In fact, you could make a pair of these to go together. Now the roses are wonderful. They would be great to give to your grandmother for her birthday, wouldn't they?
Grandma would love those.
And she loves yellow roses because she lives in Texas. Now the traditional designs are very interesting. If you have a person who just doesn't care for roses, we even have one that has very little color. A lot of people don't want much color in their window. They're a little bit shy,
And
I
that
guess.
clear is beautiful. It looks like cathedral glass.
It does. It dries bumpy. That's why we didn't comb the clear. Good point. I forgot to tell them that. Also, the dogwoods are beautiful. You know, we lived in Arkansas for a while. We're really partial to dogwoods. And the magnolias. We live in Georgia now and have a magnolia tree in our yard. All these designs are gorgeous. You're going to love them hanging in your window. Eventually, in all hobbies, you reach the point that you haven't come out even. You have supplies left, and of course you've enjoyed it so much you want to make more projects. So we have a product for that. We have a pattern booklet that has 2 8 by 10 patterns in it. Now, you can purchase open stock. You can also use that paint you have left because we have gallery glass in 24 colors. It also comes in a little different bottle than you've seen thus far. This is the new bottle, and it has the tapered tip. And this is wonderful. Renee's going to show you. Why don't you start painting and we'll show them the close-up of what it can do. But these are the colors, and we have the clears and the whites and the beiges, and then we go down to the very bright, vibrant colors. This bottle will cover approximately 1 square foot of glass. We also will need something to paint on, and we have the styrene blanks. There are 3 8 by 10 blanks in this, and remember that we have to peel this protective covering off of it before you start. And Renee's already done that, and we've done the leading. Now leading as we said, is water-based, non-toxic, and it comes in two sizes, the 2 ounce and the 8 ounce. The 8 ounce will do 156 linear feet. But I want to talk a little bit more about the leading, because the first thing you're going to do is to make a hole in the tip. And I love to use the nut pick for this, because all you do is press it in to the center. I like to press it to the fat part where it begins the center of the curve, and then I twist it all the way around. What this does is it pushes the plastic back against the inside edge and makes a nice large hole. If you have trouble getting leading out, it's usually because you have a hole that's obstructed. Now, one of the ways I like to teach people to lead is to take a piece of lined notebook paper or a tablet and to do something very simple, like write your name in the air, because you have rote memory about the letters in your name. You can, write it with your eyes closed. So you can do that above the paper like this, and this gives you the right motion of having it drape down onto the line so that you can then be more precise in your leading. Then I like for you to practice on some actual lines like this, and you'll see that if you're having trouble, it usually is because you're moving too quickly, and that's giving you thin spots. Or if you're moving too slowly, then you're getting thick spots and it begins to wiggle around. Now, the last thing, the little practice exercise I like for you to do is practice starting and stopping. Make grapes like this, where you make a circle, then hook onto it. And you should have nice, clean attachments there. And I raise it up, flow out the circle, and then stop squeezing and put it back down. It doesn't take very much practice, and there's such power in being able to make your own outline. Now let's look at what Renee's doing. Oh, you're so fast. Look at that.
Yeah, see, I'm just using the applicator tip of the bottle, and I'm squeezing it out and spreading it along to fill in between the bumpers created by the liquid leading.
So you outline next to the leading first and then fill it in.
Just like I did right there.
Now, I notice you're not putting it on very thick, but it is bumpy.
And even. I put it on thick enough so that it's an even coverage and I don't miss any holes around the leading.
So in other words,
leave it bumpy.
So it's sort of uniformly bumpy.
Right. But then I can make it smooth by following the combing lines on the pattern and using the tool
to go back and forth.
To comb it back and forth.
Now the clear on that one, this one has dried, so let me hold this one up. Now the clear is different. This is the part that looks like real cathedral glass. And how do you do that now? You just...
It looks white. It looks like the white paint, but it's really the crystal clear. And you just do it the same way, but you leave it bumpy so that you get that nice texture.
So you don't comb that one. You know what I love to call this? The squeeze and spread method. Because you squeeze it, spread it around, but you don't comb it.
Yep.
Okay, that looks great. Well, this one is beautiful. Of course, we could frame it again, put it in a standard size frame, but this is only one of the patterns in this booklet. Let's look at the other one. This is the lantern, and this would be a great project for a guy to do, because guys like gallery glass too, don't they? There are other designs in this series, and they're really interesting. They're florals, and we have two that are available. One is the still life florals, and we have flowers in a vase, and we also have some in a basket, and that basket has a little different technique. We put a color on top of dried color, and then the other one has a hummingbird and a trumpet vine and a hibiscus. So those are great to decorate with. Also, they make very inexpensive gifts for special occasions. The highest and best use of gallery glass is probably to put it on your window, because it's a great window treatment. It gives you privacy and light. Now, there are two kinds of windows, those with dividers and those without. And the next gallery glass kit I'm going to show you is one for those with dividers. This kit was designed to give you a lot of flexibility if you have mullions in your window. And there are 12 different designs. I'll show you close-ups of those in a minute. But this box comes with the pattern sheet with the 12 panes of patterns. And then it has transfer paper. I'll show you what that's for. Then it has a large bottle of the crystal clear. That's what gives you that cathedral glass look. There's 8 ounces. Then we have the 4-ounce bottle of a color. There's 3 color choices. This happens to be the white. And we have the small bottle of frost and the 4-ounce bottle of leading, which will do around 70 linear feet. Plenty to do up to a 10-pane window with your kit. Now, this is the first step. You take the pattern from the pattern sheet that you want to do. This is more or less a square window, so I'm going to adapt one of the square patterns. Now, I have cut it out of the pattern sheet and I have extended it on both ends because my pane is a little bit wider than the pattern was originally. I can use a ruler and a pencil just to draw it across. I measure my pane and size it. Now, the next step is to cut this out because you cannot trace on a pattern onto a window if it's bigger than your window pane, because those mullions are going to keep it from going against the glass. Now, if you have the advantage of that window, say, being an entry window, you can just simply go around to the back and tape it behind. However, let me warn you, if that's a thermopane window, there's going to be a sizable amount of space between where you would tape that onto the pane and the surface where you're leading, so you might still be better off to trace it on. Now, all you do is to put the transfer paper that comes in the kit, put it dull side under or dull side facing out. It's darker on the side that's going to transfer the pattern. You just tape it onto the glass, center it, and use masking tape to tape it on. Thank you. I needed 2 other hands here. Now, we use just a pencil. Now, believe it or not, all I have to do is trace. Just trace my pattern on. Doesn't even have to be very straight, and that will give me the pattern. Now, Renee's pane has already had that traced on, and if you can see there, you can see the kind of a wiggly line, but it'll still work fine. Now, Renee has created leading on hers, and this is a special technique. Why don't you show us that?
Hand me the leading bottle and I'll show them how I did it. I took a piece of notebook paper with ruled lines and taped it onto a piece of cardboard. Then I stretched a piece of handy wrap.
Non-stretching plastic wrap. A
Around
cleaning
the
bag works really good too.
And taped it on the back of the cardboard. And then, just like we showed you in the leading segments before, I follow the lines of the ruled notebook paper.
Now you know why I had you practice those lines on that notebook paper before. It's kind of nice to have nice straight ones. Also, if you have that kind of plastic wrap in the box that stretches over a bowl and seals it, don't use that kind because it will not allow your leading strips to peel up. Okay.
And if I have a hard time getting the leading to come out, I can put the tip back on the cap and pound it on a hard surface to get the leading to come to the tip. And then once it's dried, like these top rows have, more than 24 hours, I can peel them off of the plastic wrap, and they have kind of a moisture-sensitive backing on them that will stick to the surface of my window on the pattern lines that I traced on. I can use a craft knife to cut so that it fits perfectly, like I did here.
Now you're going to have a little gap there when you do that, and what we do is just take the wet leading and spot solder those connecting points, and that will give you a seamless look there. Then you take the color, we have used the denim blue on this window, and you fill it in. But also with that bottle of clear, you show them in the corner, and I'll show them how to use the frost. I love the frost. This is a great effect. It actually looks like etching on the window. Now she's using the squeeze and spread technique.
See, I can do this vertically because this paint is thick like cottage cheese, and it won't run or drip as long as I don't get it too thick on my glass. And that's the vertical method.
We're very into food here. We compare everything to food. Now, I'm going to let her continue to work on that. This is the frost. Now, we put on a minimal amount. This is the only gallery glass paint that you actually put on with a brush. And we put it on very thinly because it's going to look like etching when it dries. And I just smear it around with the brush. Now, the brush comes in the kit also. and we just smear it around and let it dry. Now this is going to dry very, very quickly. It will take this much longer to dry. Now up here she is putting on the clear, the squeeze and spread method. She starts at the top and kind of goes down and across. Now this one down here is actually dry. You can see the bumpy texture. We have applied that vertically from the bottle, and you can see the effect that's through it. Also, as I move my hand back, you can see that it obscures the view as you get further back from it. That's why you can use it as a window covering, because you get privacy and light. Now, suppose though that you wanted to change your design. This is something you really can't do if the carpenter has come and installed real leaded glass. But all we have to do is score the paint away from the mullion, and we just score it away from the wood. Now with the clear paint especially, we do go on up onto the wood just slightly, because that's going to seal the paint to the window frame. Now all I have to do is to take up a pick or something, scratch it loose from the corner, and begin to peel it off. Now the good news is it's not going to melt or peel off. It's only going to come off if you want it to, but I can peel this whole thing off because the leading and the paint have become seamless. It's pretty amazing. And the neat thing is that it is a water-based product, both the leading and the paint. But when it cures on your window, it is more or less waterproof, and it won't, as I said, it won't melt. There also, though, is a little bit of sensitivity to moisture. So we do not put it where a shower could spray directly on it. We also never put gallery glass outdoors. So you would only put it on the inside of your window. But it can be a window that's in your wall, and of course it's outside. You're doing pretty good there.
Almost done.
Through. Yeah. Now when that dries again, that's going to look just like this. Let me show you a close-up of some of these patterns, because I believe you'll see then the flexibility that we have with the designs. Now it comes in 3 colors. The first one is the slate blue, and it really is a neat effect. You have the long patterns. These more aptly fit a patio door, and you have the square ones, which probably are more appropriate for a 6/6. Then you have the ones with the white. These are the same designs, but they have the white color in the kit. And then we have the gold. And those are the 3 different design choices, but let me show you what it looks like in the window. I love this. This looks like a very expensive window. Notice that above the palladium, you can alter the pattern even to fit in that palladium, because one size fits all. Here is the design in a French door, and that's using the long patterns. So as you can see, gallery glass is very flexible, and it can take the place of those expensive window treatments.
I love the look of etched glass, and I especially like it combined with stained glass because they look beautiful together, and I like the pieces that I make not to have a lot of color. Now, Plaid's etched frosted entry kits have 3 different design choices: the geometric one, which you see here, the floral design, and the traditional. Mom, why don't you tell us what's in the kit?
Well, I'd be glad to. This kit has everything you need to create the etched look, and it has the instruction booklet, the pattern booklet that shows you some simple patterns that you're going to use, and of course the material itself. Now this etching is so simple, you don't have to sandblast it. It's more like a rub-on decal. And one of the things that you'll find is that it is trapped in between 2 white pieces of paper. So one thing I like to do to get the design to show up a little more is take a pencil and just go across the top of it, because that allows the design to come forward a little more, and I can see exactly where my etching is. And once I've done that, then I'm free to cut them apart. Now, in the geometric design, which is the one I'm doing, you get 2 large motifs and 4 small ones. Now I can see exactly where I'm cutting, and I cut them apart to fit my design. Now, in the shutters over there, we had one of each. We had one with the big design and one with 2 small ones. But I'm going to do this big one in the middle of this little window. So I take the design that coordinates with that, and I use the transfer paper like like we did with the paned window kits, and I trace that on my window. Now, to make the borders around the side, we don't have patterns for the borders because who knows how big your design will be or your door will be. So what we can do is use a ruler and a crayon. Everybody's got a crayon. Just look in the couch. When your children were little, they fell down in there. And use the crayon to mark it on there. It's very similar to the material that's on your transfer paper, but it will leave a small line. Find one of the ones with a point on it, not one of the broken ones. Now, after you get the borders drawn on, then you're ready to do the etching. And there's a little trick to this too. Fix a hinge like this, and you want to put it pencil side up. Now, what we do is fold it back. Then we put the water on, close. We put the water on so that it will move around a little bit. Just in case you don't get it quite adhered in the right place, you can move it slightly. And then we peel off the back piece of paper. Thank you. This is the wiggliest wall I've ever worked on. Okay, now we can press it down, and as you see, we can move it around slightly and get it just exactly where we want it, because even if it's a 1/4 of an inch off, then our lead lines are not going to go on there. Now, we use a credit card. This happens to be Renee's Georgia Tech student ID. She's out of there now, so we can pull on it, can't we? We can destroy it. We might as well cut it up.
No.
Now, we press this down, and we're going to leave this. You want to squeegee it, get all the air out of it. Now, a little moisture will come out of the bottom, and that's fine. You just kind of soak that up with a paper towel, and you let that dry at least 8 hours. And then when you begin to peel it up, now of course I just did this so I can't peel it up yet, but your etching will be on your glass. Well, there's a little bit of it. Yeah, there's a little bit of it. I do recommend though that you leave it the recommended amount of time, and you can see that it's under there. If you see that it is not under there as you begin to peel it off, then put it back down, use the squeegee again on it, okay? And then peel it up. Now, after that, we're going to use the same leading and painting technique that we used in the paned windows. We will make it on the cardboard just like you showed them in the other segment. Now, should we want to remove it, why don't you pass me that one over there, and we'll just kind of talk through that. We would score it away from the window just like we did in the other technique and remove the gallery glass part, but then we would also use a single-edged razor blade or they have those wonderful little scraping tools. There it is. It always hides from me. And you would use this on your glass to get off the etching. So it's removable too. Now, there are other designs, and this is what it looks like on a shutter. Let me show you what it looks like in your entryway, because it's pretty exciting. Now, this is the, let's see, this is the geometric design. This is the one we just did. And then we have the floral design. Now, this is, women love roses, don't they? They'll put them just about anywhere. And then this is the traditional design. Now, they're very similar in that there is no color, but they're easy to do, and a lot of people just like that monochromatic look on their entryway. Everybody dreams of that beautiful stained glass window that looks like it was custom designed to go in your room. Well, now you can do that. You have all of the techniques. But you know, I recommend that instead of starting at this level doing a complicated window, it's a good idea to start with some of the smaller sort of beginner projects that we've shown you so far in the video, because that will kind of work you up to this level. Not that it's any harder. The techniques are really the same. It's just that you know, it's a little less intimidating. For this project, we have a pattern booklet, and it has a 22 by 22 pattern in it. Now, that's important because it's big enough to tell you everything you need to know. This is the fruit pattern, and I'm going to do this on my little window. This is the diagram that I'm going to choose. There are actually two choices in this design. One is a fruit border, and the other is the one that I'm going to do with just the grapes. Now, I can look at my window and decide that this design will work fine. Even though I have dividers that divide it into 4 panes, this pattern will fit any window, it says. So I'm going to show you why that is. It is because it's done modular. It's actually kind of the lazy person's way to do a window, isn't it? Because we work horizontally like we've done on a lot of the categories, but we apply it vertically. So what I do first is take a leading blank. Now, we have seen those before, but you can purchase those, and there are 3 leading blanks. They're 8 by 10 in this package, and they're really wonderful. I love those because they're reusable. Then you find the part of your pattern that is going to be required for your window. Now mine's very simple because there are just 4 leaf groupings and 4 grape groupings. And I lead that. Now I like to use the big 8-ounce bottle of leading when I'm doing a big window because it will do over 150 linear feet of leading, so I know that I'm going to have enough to do the whole project. Now I just lead the motifs, let them dry. Now I missed a spot there. See, I'm not as good as you. I couldn't even get you to get an air bubble, and there I had a gap. Okay, you let this dry until it's dry, 8 hours up to 24. And then you're ready to paint it. Now this one, I've already got one painted there. I also made some straight strips on there, but again, you use the painting technique. This is kind of like a sun catcher, and you just apply the paint in the design. You make it about the height that the leading is, and you can comb it and tap it and do all those wonderful things that Renee's taught you how to do. Now, when it's dry, and this will take at least 24 hours, if you begin to peel this sun catcher up, and it will not peel up without shredding, or if it leaves any paint or leading on the blank, then it is not ready. Put it back down, let it cook a little, no, not cook really, but let it cure a little longer. So we peel off the pieces and we put them in place. Now this is an easy one. I don't really have to trial fit this window because I can replace these several different times. See, I have made my own sun catcher, so it will stick to the window much like our leading did. Now I'm going to peel off my grapes and put those in the other corner. Now I made some extra strips there in the center of my leaves, and those are going to form the connecting spots, and I just peeled those up. Renee's going to show you how to make big pages of leading in a minute. Now this is a free form. I didn't have to draw on this pattern. I'm just going to curve this around and make my finished motif in the middle. Now I may want to do it several times so that it exactly matches the other side, so I peel it up and I can reposition it. It's really easy to do. Now one thing I don't do is I do not go over a lead line. When I get it where I want it, then I sever it like this, just cut it, and start on the other side because we don't like to go over a lead line. It will leave too big of a bump. And then we would spot solder it and paint it. Now Renee has another one of the modular designs that she's going to show you how she did on this window right behind us. I'm just going to move this one over to the side. Now I would continue to paint it. Also it's removable just like our other ones that we saw. Now show us what you're going to do with your wisteria.
Well, Mom, like you said, I have the wisteria and I have cut out pieces of the design, the modular pieces, from the pattern sheet with scissors. And then I've cut out also the diagram that comes on the pattern sheet, the one that's most like the window size that I want to fit the pattern to. And then I've cut out, see this piece of the branch, and now I'm going to take it and put it on the window, and I'm just going to carry my diagram over here so I have it as kind of a map to go by. And I just put a piece of tape on this piece and stick it up where I think it'll look the best, and see how I can tell by my diagram that it connects right there, and put it up there. See, I've already done that with the border, just like this one, and the other pieces of the pattern based on the diagram on my map. See how also I can take the transfer paper, and this is the
dark side.
The dark side down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made a hinge with this one piece of tape. And I can take my pencil and trace around the perimeter lines of this bird, of the hummingbird, so that it comes off on the other side. And then, and I would do that with all the pieces. And then like if I did that with my corner, I could take this piece, the piece of paper off, put it in the other corner, and then take a ruler and a crayon and connect the lines, and just use the crayon to connect the lines on down. And even I could use the crayon to make connecting lines so that it has the real flow of stained glass based on my diagram.
It also divides your window into sections because you can't paint around 4 or 5 elements at one time because you're always working a wet edge. And on this border, you would peel this up or pull it up and put it down here, trace on that border, and then connect your 2 traced areas to make that border area clear.
Right,
now,
and
what
I
are you
do
going
that
to do
for all
with it?
4 sides. Now, once I get that all on my window and I have the lines up there so I can put
The
them
perimeter.
right, just the perimeter of the design modules, I can take it back, lay it down, put it under the leading blank, and lead the actual piece out.
Now, if you need more than one bird at that point, you're going to know that, right? And you're
Right,
gonna make
because
them.
I've already designed my
Your window.
on the actual window in my home.
You know, really, I think this is a great method. It's a shortcut because you don't have to make a paper pattern. A lot of times people are very intimidated by having to make a paper pattern because you have to have such a big piece. Now, if her window were strongly different shape than the suggested ones, but you still wanted the wisteria, then she could still use this same method, taping up the modules, creating that pattern. So it really allows one size to fit all. One size pattern fits any window because you either delete or add elements to fit the size of your window.
I would just work with it until I could stand back and feel like it looked right.
Till you liked it, yeah, until it fit,
Exactly.
until it flows or it looks even. Now let me show you another one. This one is a little different because this is the fruit border. Now I'm going to show you this one. On the pattern sheet, this was a little different because we did the 4 corners. And we put those corners, adhered those to the window. Then, depending on how much space we had left, we drew on the borders with a crayon and made those squares fit the rest of our fruit. As you can see, these are long pieces of fruit and work very well for vertical areas, and these are the more square ones, so they fit the square areas. So then you can see how even this border design, which is really tricky, most people would have trouble with this, it can fit any window. Let's see now how this actually looks on a window, because it's really exciting. We even use these 2 together, and I think you'll agree that in this kitchen it looks beautiful. Now, on the modular method, we have other designs. The magnolias are easy to do. They're very similar to the way we did the wisteria, except a lot easier because you don't have a definite branch pattern. You just free-form your branch pattern. This design is especially made for entryways. In fact, Renee designed this one to look like bevels. A lot of people love this very clear look, and it has side light patterns and a door pattern. The teacup design, I especially picked this one for my English friends. I go to England quite often, and they do love their tea over there. The rose pattern is probably the easiest one of the modular designs to use in a paned window. And then, of course, here's this finished wisteria in that bay window setting. It's really a lovely way to add a designer touch to any room. I think we've successfully accomplished our goal. We've shown you almost everything there is to know about gallery glass, but sooner or later you're going to want to do your own design, and we have a way that you can do that. But first, let's talk a little bit about Renee's favorite part of gallery glass.
Mom, I love sun catchers because that's what I've been doing since I was about 4 years old, as you know. And I want to show you the jar again from the window clings segment. Remember the fruit that we made? Well, if you don't have the static cling from that kit, you can use your open stock paint that you have at home and leading, and you can pick up the liquid leading blanks, and you can buy the sun catcher book to make your own sun catchers and peel them off the leading blanks and stick them on any window in your home. Let's look at what they look like once you put them up on the window. This one I love because it shows how you can group them on a window together and make them look so nice. Also, I love the words and doing names. Children love to do their name and even their boyfriend or girlfriend's name. And then the Christmas designs are just beautiful and another wonderful way to decorate for the holidays.
You've done sun catchers for so many years I can't remember. In fact, we've always sent them to your cousins. But you know, eventually you're going to want to do something really exotic. And so we've put together a book for you, and this book has a lot of windows, in fact 14 designs, and it uses both techniques, the apply directly, the vertical method, and then also the modular method, that's the lazy person's method, where you do it horizontally and put them in place. Let's look at some of the designs that are in the book, because you're going to love them. This design is for an entryway door, and it has these wonderful magnolias. They're a little bit larger than life there. They also have accompanying side light designs. Now, this happens to be my breakfast room, and I love this design. It has 8 windows in it, and there's lattice work outside, so I wanted the lattice work on my windows. This is a bedroom that we created to give privacy and light, and we thought that this design looked very continental. This is a design for a bathroom. You know, in the South, everybody has one of these 5-foot windows over this tub, and you know, the first thing you're going to want to do is cover that. So we have 2 designs in the book for that. Children's rooms are great for gallery glass because you can coordinate them to a comforter or to a spread. You can also do your own designs using the leading blanks. You can put the leading blank over your comforter and do your own flowers. One of the modular designs that's in the book is a kitchen, and we used sort of a fruit swag design. There's also a floral opportunity with that design. You know, gallery glass is not only for glass. You can use it on mirrors, you can use it on plexiglass, you can use it on glass top tables, stereo fronts. There are so many uses for gallery glass that it's just hard to name them all. Well, Renee, can you think of anything we haven't told them?
Oh, I'm sure there's something, but I can't think of what it is.
Well, then, tell our friends goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for joining us.